Have you ever saved someone's precious child only to find yourself drowning in the depths of unexpected love? When a brave woman rescues a millionaire's son from drowning, their eyes meet in a moment of breathtaking connection that transforms a simple act of heroism into the first chapter of their passionate love story. The sea had been a source of both comfort and fear for Olivia Hart ever since she was a child. Growing up in the small coastal town of Sandpoint, where the ocean's melody served as the constant soundtrack to her life, she had learned to respect its power while finding solace in its vastness. Now, at 32, her morning swims had become a ritual, a moment of peace before facing the demands of running the town's only bookstore, a business that was barely staying afloat in the age of e-readers and online shopping. This morning, like every other, Olivia had arrived at the secluded cove just as dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold. The beach was deserted, exactly how she preferred it. She stretched her limbs, feeling the cool sand beneath her feet before wading into the water. The initial shock of cold made her gasp, but her body quickly adjusted as she began her practice strokes, cutting through the water with precision born from years of experience. 50 meters out, Olivia paused to float on her back, watching as seagulls circled overhead. The world felt perfectly balanced in these moments. No bills to worry about, no emails demanding her attention, no concerned glances from her sister about the bookstore's dwindling customers. Just Olivia and the endless blue. She was about to resume her swim when a sound caught her attention. Faint at first, then unmistakable. A cry for help. Olivia spun in the water, searching for the source. At first, she saw nothing but the gentle waves in the distant shoreline. Then, about 100 meters to her right, she spotted an arm flailing above the surface before disappearing beneath the water. Without hesitation, Olivia began swimming toward the spot, her powerful strokes propelling her forward with urgency. Her mind raced through the rescue training she'd received years ago as a lifeguard during college summers. As she approached, she could make out a small figure thrashing in the water. A child, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, with panic evident in every movement. "I'm coming," Olivia shouted, pushing herself harder. "Try to float on your back." The child, a boy she could now see, couldn't seem to follow her instructions. His movements were becoming weaker, more erratic. Olivia reached him just as he began to sink. She dove beneath the surface, wrapping one arm around his chest and using her free arm to pull them both back to the surface. They broke through with a splash, the boy gasping and coughing as Olivia kept him afloat. "I've got you," she reassured him, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Just relax. I won't let you go." The boy was trembling, his small body rigid with fear. Olivia began the journey back to shore, using a side stroke to keep the child's head above water. It was slow progress, the weight of them both making each movement a struggle against the pull of the tide. "What's your name?" Olivia asked, trying to keep the boy calm. "Leo," he managed between coughs. "I'm Olivia. You're doing great, Leo. We're almost there." As they neared the shoreline, Olivia heard shouts. A man was running into the water, his expensive-looking suit pants soaked up to the knees as he waded toward them. "Leo! Oh my God, Leo!" The man's voice was raw with panic. With a final push, Olivia's feet found the sandy bottom. She stood, still holding the boy securely as the man reached them, his face a mask of terror and relief. "He's okay," Olivia said, gently transferring Leo into the man's shaking arms. "He swallowed some water, but he's breathing fine." The man clutched his son to his chest, murmuring words Olivia couldn't make out. She stepped back, suddenly aware of her exhaustion, her limbs heavy and her lungs burning from the exertion. Leo coughed again, and the man carefully set him down on the sand, kneeling beside him. "What were you thinking, Leo? You know you're not supposed to go in the water alone." I saw a dolphin," the boy mumbled, his voice small. "I wanted to see it closer." The man ran a hand over his face, leaving a streak of wet sand across his cheek. It was only then that Olivia truly looked at him. He was perhaps in his late 30s, with dark hair that had been carefully styled before the mad dash into the sea had disheveled it. His white shirt clung to his broad shoulders, and despite the circumstances, Olivia couldn't help but notice how his eyes, a striking shade of green, stood out against his tanned skin. Those eyes turned to her now, filled with a gratitude so intense it made her stomach flutter. "You saved my son's life," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "I don't know how to thank you." Olivia shook her head, suddenly self-conscious in her practical one-piece swimsuit. Anyone would have done the same. "No," he said firmly, standing up. "Not everyone would have. Not everyone could have." He extended his hand. "I'm Nathaniel Reed." Olivia took his hand, noticing how warm it felt despite the cool water. Olivia Hart. A flash of recognition crossed his face, but before he could speak, Leo began coughing again. Nathaniel immediately turned his attention back to his son. "We need to get him checked out," Olivia suggested. "The medical center is just up the road." Nathaniel nodded, lifting Leo into his arms. "My car's in the parking lot. Would you come with us? I'd feel better having you there since you saw what happened." Something in his tone made Olivia hesitate. It wasn't just concern for his son. There was something else, a vulnerability that seemed at odds with his otherwise commanding presence. "Of course," she found herself saying. "Let me grab my things." As they walked up the beach, Olivia quickly collected her towel and bag. She wrapped the towel around her shoulders, suddenly aware of the cool morning breeze against her wet skin. The parking lot held only 2 vehicles, Olivia's aging blue sedan and a sleek black Range Rover that practically gleamed in the morning sun. Nathaniel pressed a key fob, and the SUV's lights flashed. "You can put your things in the back," he said as he carefully settled Leo in the rear seat, wrapping him in a plush blanket that looked more expensive than anything Olivia owned. The interior of the car smelled of leather and some subtle masculine cologne. Olivia slid into the passenger seat, feeling out of place with her wet hair and sandy feet on the immaculate floor mats. Nathaniel started the engine, the vehicle humming to life with a quiet purr that spoke of engineering perfection. As they pulled out onto the coastal road, Olivia glanced back at Leo, who was staring out the window, his face pale but his breathing steady. "He looks better already," she offered. Nathaniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Thanks to you." He glanced at her briefly. "You said your name is Olivia Hart? From Hart's Books?" Surprised, Olivia nodded. "Yes. How did you know?" A small smile touched his lips. "I've been to your store. It's a wonderful place." "Thank you," Olivia said, unable to recall ever seeing Nathaniel Reed among her customers. She certainly would have remembered him. "Are you from around here?" Nathaniel shook his head. "We have a summer home just north of town. We don't get to use it as much as I'd like, but Leo and I try to come whenever we can. This is our first visit this season." "Is it just the 2 of you?" Olivia asked, then immediately regretted the personal question. If Nathaniel was bothered, he didn't show it. "Yes, Leo's mother and I divorced 3 years ago." "I'm sorry," Olivia said automatically. "Don't be. It was for the best." His tone was final, closing the subject. They arrived at the Sandpoint Medical Center, a modest building that served the town's basic healthcare needs. Anything serious required a helicopter ride to the city hospital 70 miles away. Dr. Peterson, whom Olivia had known since childhood, examined Leo thoroughly while Nathaniel paced the small exam room. When the doctor pronounced the boy fine, just a little water in his lungs and a good scare, the relief on Nathaniel's face was palpable. "You were very lucky that Ms. Hart was there," Dr. Peterson said, his kind eyes crinkling as he smiled at Olivia. "She's one of our town's treasures, you know." Olivia felt her cheeks warm. "Jim, please." Nathaniel's gaze lingered on her. "I'm beginning to see that." After filling out some paperwork and receiving instructions to keep Leo warm and watch for any signs of respiratory distress, they were free to go. As they exited the center, the morning had fully bloomed into a beautiful day. the sky a perfect cloudless blue. "I should get back to my car," Olivia said, suddenly aware that her hair was drying in salt-stiffened waves and she was still in her swimsuit beneath the towel. "Let me drive you," Nathaniel insisted. "It's the least I can do." The drive back to the cove was quiet, with Leo dozing in the back seat. When they reached the parking lot, Nathaniel turned to her before she could exit the vehicle. "Ms. Hart, Olivia," he began, his voice low so as not to wake his son. "I don't know how to properly thank you for what you did today, if you hadn't been there." "But I was," Olivia said gently. "And Leo's fine. That's all that matters." Nathaniel seemed to be struggling with something. Would you allow me to thank you properly? Perhaps dinner tonight? I know a nice place in town." The invitation caught Olivia off guard. She glanced down at her sandy feet, then back at Nathaniel Reed with his perfect hair and expensive watch that probably cost more than a month's rent for her apartment above the bookstore. "That's not necessary," she began. "I know it's not necessary," he interrupted, a hint of frustration in his tone. "But I'd like to, please." Something in his expression, an earnestness that seemed to cut through his polished exterior, made Olivia reconsider. "All right," she found herself saying, "dinner would be nice." The smile that spread across Nathaniel's face transformed him, softening the sharp angles and lighting up his green eyes. "Wonderful. Shall I pick you up at 7, at your bookstore?" Olivia nodded, suddenly wondering what she had just agreed to. 7 is fine." As she gathered her things and stepped out of the car, Nathaniel rolled down the window. "Olivia?" He hesitated, then simply said, "Thank you. Truly." She watched as the Range Rover pulled away, feeling as though the morning's events had somehow altered the course of her life in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. As she drove home in her own car, the salt drying on her skin and the memory of a pair of grateful green eyes lingering in her mind, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that saving Leo Reed might have just changed everything. Olivia stood in front of her closet, towel wrapped around her body, hair still damp from the shower, facing what felt like an insurmountable crisis. What does one wear to dinner with a man whose watch probably cost more than her car? "You're overthinking this," she muttered to herself, pushing hangers aside with increasing frustration. Her wardrobe, practical for a small-town bookstore owner, suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was her sister, Kate. "Hey, what's up?" Olivia answered, wedging the phone between her ear and shoulder as she continued to rifle through clothes. "Just checking if we're still on for our usual Thursday pizza night," Kate said. "I was thinking of trying that new place on Harbor Street." Olivia hesitated. "Actually, I can't tonight. I have plans." The silence on the other end was brief but loaded. "Plans? Like a date kind of plans?" "Not exactly a date," Olivia hedged. "More like a thank-you dinner." "A thank-you dinner," Kate repeated slowly. "With whom exactly?" Olivia sighed, knowing her sister wouldn't let this go. "Nathaniel Reed." Kate's gasp was audible. "Nathaniel Reed? As in Reed Enterprises' Nathaniel Reed, the tech mogul who's worth like $1 bazillion? "I don't know about bazillions," Olivia said, pulling out a navy blue dress she'd worn to a cousin's wedding last year. "But yes, that Nathaniel Reed. Why would he? What is happening, Liv?" Olivia briefly recounted the morning's events, downplaying her role in Leo's rescue. By the time she finished, Kate was practically squealing. "This is like something out of a movie. The handsome billionaire whose child you saved wants to take you to dinner. Oh my God, Liv!" "It's not like that," Olivia insisted, though her stomach fluttered at her sister's romanticized version. "He's just being polite, and he's probably not even a billionaire. He's on the Forbes list, Liv. I checked once when his company made that big acquisition last year, and he's single." Kate paused. "You know what this means, right? This could be your meet cute." Olivia rolled her eyes, though Kate couldn't see it. "It's dinner. not a marriage proposal. And I'm pretty sure billionaires don't marry small-town bookstore owners who can barely make rent. Don't sell yourself short, Kate said firmly. You're smart, beautiful, and you saved his kid's life. That's a pretty solid foundation. After promising to call with details later, Olivia hung up and returned to her closet dilemma. She finally settled on the navy dress, which was simple but elegant, with a modest neckline and a hem that fell just above her knees. She paired it with her only decent heels, strappy sandals in a soft gold, and a delicate necklace that had belonged to their mother. Looking in the mirror, Olivia allowed herself a moment of honesty. She did look nice. The dress complemented her athletic figure, and her sun-kissed skin glowed against the dark fabric. She'd let her chestnut hair air dry into its natural waves and applied just enough makeup to enhance her features without looking overdone. It's just dinner, she reminded her reflection, ignoring the flutter of anticipation in her chest. Downstairs, Olivia moved through the bookstore, straightening already neat stacks and adjusting displays that didn't need adjusting. Hart's Books had been her parents' legacy, a charming independent bookstore that had once been the heart of Sandpoint's main street. Now, with the big chains and online retailers dominating the market, it was a struggle to keep the doors open. But Olivia refused to give up. This place was more than a store to her. It was home. The bell above the door chimed at precisely 7 o'clock. Olivia looked up to see Nathaniel Reed stepping into her world, his presence somehow making the cozy space seem smaller. He'd changed from his ruined suit into dark jeans and a light blue button-down shirt that made his eyes appear even more intensely green. His dark hair was artfully tousled, and he was clean-shaven, highlighting the strong line of his jaw. "Hello?" he said, his gaze traveling over her in a way that made her feel both self-conscious and oddly pleased. "You look beautiful." "Thank you," Olivia replied, suddenly shy. "You clean up pretty well yourself. No more saltwater stains." He laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "I'm afraid that suit is beyond saving. Small price to pay, though." His expression softened. "Leo wanted me to give you this." From behind his back, Nathaniel produced a small, carefully wrapped package. Olivia accepted it, touched by the gesture. He insisted on picking it out himself, Nathaniel explained as she unwrapped it to reveal a delicate glass figurine of a dolphin. "He said it was because he was chasing a dolphin when you found him." Olivia ran her finger over the smooth glass. "It's lovely. How is he doing?" "Much better. He's with Mrs. Henderson, an elderly neighbor who watches him occasionally. She promised him cookies and a movie marathon." Nathaniel's smile turned wry. He was more excited about that than distressed by his near drowning, which I suppose is the resilience of childhood. Olivia placed the dolphin carefully on the counter. "I'll treasure it." "Shall we?" Nathaniel gestured toward the door. Outside, the Range Rover was parked at the curb. Nathaniel opened the passenger door for her, a courtesy that felt both old-fashioned and charming. As they drove through town, Olivia expected them to head toward the Lighthouse, Sandpoint's most upscale restaurant. Instead, Nathaniel surprised her by turning onto a narrow road that wound up into the hills overlooking the bay. "Where are we going?" she asked. "I hope you don't mind," he said, glancing at her. "I thought we might have dinner at my place. I asked Mrs. Henderson to prepare something before she left with Leo. She's an excellent cook." Olivia hesitated. Dinner at his home felt more intimate than a public restaurant, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for that level of privacy with a man she'd just met, billionaire or not. Sensing her discomfort, Nathaniel quickly added, "We can absolutely go to a restaurant if you'd prefer. I just thought it might be nice to talk without the noise and interruptions. But I completely understand if you'd rather not." The sincerity in his voice eased her concerns. "No, your place is fine. I was just surprised." They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Nathaniel spoke again. "I looked up your bookstore after I dropped you off this morning. It has quite a history." "My parents opened it 30 years ago," Olivia said, pride evident in her voice. They believed that books could transform lives, open minds, create community. I grew up surrounded by stories. And now you're keeping their dream alive. Olivia's smile faltered slightly. Trying to. It's not easy these days. Nathaniel nodded thoughtfully. The digital revolution has been hard on traditional booksellers. But there's something irreplaceable about physical books, about spaces dedicated to them. Your store has that special quality. It feels like somewhere you want to linger. You've been in before? Olivia asked, surprised. A few times whenever I've been in town. You were always busy with customers, so we never met properly. His lips curved in a small smile. I bought a first edition Hemingway last summer. Olivia's eyes widened. That was you? I remember that sale. It helped cover our property taxes that quarter. A slight flush colored Nathaniel's cheeks. I'm glad it was helpful. They turned onto a private drive, winding through tall pines until the trees opened up to reveal a stunning modern home perched on the cliffside. Floor-to-ceiling windows captured the panoramic view of the bay, and natural stone and wood blended seamlessly with the landscape. This is incredible, Olivia breathed as Nathaniel parked. Thank you. It's one of my favorite places. He came around to open her door. It's peaceful here. Inside, the home was equally impressive, spacious and elegant, but with a warmth that surprised her. It wasn't the cold, sterile environment she might have expected from a tech mogul's vacation home. There were books everywhere, on shelves, on side tables, stacked beside comfortable-looking chairs. You really do like to read, Olivia remarked, running her fingers along the spines of novels arranged on a built-in bookshelf. It's my escape, Nathaniel admitted. In my world, there's constant noise, meetings, decisions, people wanting things. Books are my sanctuary. He led her through to a terrace overlooking the water, where a table had been set for two. Candles flickered in glass hurricanes, and a bottle of wine was chilling in an ice bucket. The sun was beginning its descent, casting golden light across the bay. This is lovely, Olivia said, taking in the setting. Nathaniel pulled out her chair. I hope you like Italian. Mrs. Henderson left us her famous lasagna. The meal was delicious, the wine perfectly paired, and the conversation flowed with surprising ease. Nathaniel asked thoughtful questions about her life in Sandpoint, her love of books, her swimming routine. In turn, Olivia learned about his rise in the tech world, his passion for innovation, and most of all, his devotion to Leo. After the divorce, I promised myself I'd be more present, he explained, refilling their wine glasses. Caroline, my ex-wife, she was right about one thing. I was working too much, missing too much. Leo deserves better than a father who's always on a conference call. That's why you come here? Olivia asked. To disconnect? Nathaniel nodded. No distractions, just Leo and me, though I have to admit, sometimes I bring work anyway. He smiled ruefully. Old habits. What exactly does Reed Enterprises do? Olivia asked. I know it's tech, but beyond that. We started as a cybersecurity firm, Nathaniel explained. Now we're focused on developing privacy solutions for consumers, ways for ordinary people to protect their digital footprint. Not very exciting dinner conversation, I'm afraid. I disagree, Olivia said. Privacy is becoming a luxury in the digital age. What you're doing matters. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. A recognition, perhaps, of shared values despite their different worlds. As the evening progressed and the stars appeared above them, Olivia found herself reluctant for it to end. Nathaniel was not at all what she had expected. Not arrogant or pretentious, but thoughtful, intelligent, and surprisingly down-to-earth. After dessert, they moved to a seating area near a fire pit, the flames providing warmth against the evening chill. Olivia wrapped a throw blanket around her shoulders as Nathaniel stoked the fire. Thank you for agreeing to dinner, he said, settling beside her. I've enjoyed this evening more than I can express. So have I, Olivia admitted. though I'm still not sure why you wanted to thank me so elaborately for doing what anyone would have done." Nathaniel's expression grew serious. "Leo is everything to me, Olivia. After losing so much, my marriage, my sense of balance, he's my anchor. The thought of losing him—" He shook his head, unable to complete the thought. "You didn't just save his life. You saved mine." The raw emotion in his voice touched something deep within Olivia. Without thinking, she reached out and placed her hand over his. Nathaniel turned his palm up, their fingers intertwining with a naturalness that belied their brief acquaintance. "I'm glad I was there," she said softly. Nathaniel's gaze dropped to their joined hands, then back to her face. The air between them seemed charged with possibility. He leaned forward slightly, and Olivia felt herself drawn toward him, her heart racing. The moment was broken by the sound of a car coming up the drive. "That must be Mrs. Henderson bringing Leo home," Nathaniel said, reluctantly releasing her hand. Olivia nodded, both disappointed and relieved by the interruption. Whatever was happening between them was moving fast, perhaps too fast. Moments later, Leo burst onto the terrace, his eyes lighting up when he saw Olivia. "You came!" he exclaimed, rushing toward her. "I did," Olivia smiled, surprised by the warmth of Leo's welcome. "Your dad invited me for dinner. And thank you for the dolphin. It's beautiful." Leo beamed, then launched into an enthusiastic account of his movie marathon with Mrs. Henderson. Olivia listened attentively, charmed by his energy and the way his hands gestured wildly as he spoke. As she watched father and son together, Olivia felt a tug of something unexpected, longing perhaps for this kind of connection, this kind of family. It was a dangerous feeling, she knew. This wasn't her world, and after tonight Nathaniel and Leo would return to their real life, far from Sandpoint and Hart's books. Yet as Nathaniel's eyes met hers over his son's head, full of warmth and unspoken promise, Olivia couldn't help but wonder if perhaps their story was just beginning. The morning after their dinner, Olivia opened Hart's books with a strange sense of unreality. Had she really spent the evening at the cliffside home of a tech billionaire, discussing books and life while overlooking the bay? The memory felt like something borrowed from someone else's life, beautiful, but impermanent. She was arranging a new display of summer reads when the bell above the door chimed. Looking up, she was surprised to see Leo bounding in, followed by Nathaniel, who was carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Hi, Ms. Olivia," Leo called out, racing toward her with the unbridled enthusiasm only an 8-year-old could muster at 9 in the morning. "Hello, Leo," she smiled, genuinely pleased to see him looking so healthy after his ordeal. "And it's just Olivia, remember?" "We brought you coffee," Nathaniel said, offering her one of the cups. "I hope you like lattes. Leo insisted we stop by." "I love lattes, thank you." Their fingers brushed as she accepted the cup, sending a small jolt through her. "This is a nice surprise." "Dad said we could pick out books," Leo announced, already eyeing the children's section. "I need something with sharks, or pirates, or shark pirates." Nathaniel shrugged apologetically. "He's going through a phase." "I think I can help with that," Olivia said, leading Leo toward a shelf of adventure stories. "We just got a new series about a group of kids who discover an underwater city." While Leo eagerly flipped through the books Olivia recommended, Nathaniel wandered through the store, pausing occasionally to examine a title or admire a display. Olivia was acutely aware of his presence, of the way other customers, mostly local women, were stealing glances at the handsome stranger in their midst. "You have a wonderful selection," Nathaniel commented when she joined him by the classics section. "Much better curated than those chain stores." "That's the advantage of being small," Olivia replied. "I know my customers' tastes. The challenge is surviving when Amazon can deliver any book overnight for half the price." Nathaniel nodded thoughtfully. "Have you considered expanding your online presence? Creating a more immersive website, perhaps with personalized recommendations based on past purchases?" "In theory, yes. In practice, I can barely afford to keep the lights on, let alone hire a web developer." Olivia hadn't meant to sound so blunt about her financial situation, but something about Nathaniel made her honest. Before he could respond, Leo appeared with an armful of books. "I found the ones I want." Olivia tallied up the purchases, 5 books in total, including the Shark Adventure series and a beautifully illustrated edition of Treasure Island. Nathaniel handed over his credit card without even glancing at the total. "We're having a picnic at the beach later," Leo announced as Olivia bagged the books. "You should come with us." Olivia hesitated, looking to Nathaniel. "We'd love to have you join us," he said, his expression warm. "If you can get away from the store, that is." Olivia thought about the stack of invoices waiting to be processed, the inventory that needed updating, the email she should send to the book club about next week's meeting. Then she thought about sitting on the beach with Nathaniel and Leo, the sun on her face and the sound of waves in her ears. "I'd like that," she said. "I can close for lunch around 1. "Perfect. We'll pick you up." Nathaniel's smile made her feel as though she'd given him a much greater gift than simply agreeing to a picnic. After they left, Olivia found herself moving through her morning tasks with an unfamiliar lightness. Even Mrs. Grayson's complaints about the lack of new romance novels couldn't dampen her mood. At 1:45, Olivia was just helping the last customer when the bell chimed again. Instead of Nathaniel and Leo, however, a woman entered, tall, impeccably dressed in white linen pants and a silk blouse, with expertly highlighted blonde hair and oversized sunglasses perched atop her head. "Can I help you?" Olivia asked after the customer had left. The woman surveyed the store with a polite but distant interest. "I'm looking for Nathaniel Reed. I was told he might be here." Something in her tone, confident, entitled, familiar, made Olivia's stomach tighten. "He was here earlier, but he left. He's supposed to return soon, though." The woman turned her full attention to Olivia, assessing her with cool blue eyes. "And you are?" "Olivia Hart. I own the bookstore." Recognition flickered across the woman's perfect features. "Ah, so you're the swimming heroine. Leo hasn't stopped talking about you." She extended a manicured hand. "I'm Caroline Reed, Leo's mother." Olivia shook her hand, trying to hide her surprise. "It's nice to meet you. Leo is a wonderful boy." "Yes, he is." Caroline's smile was genuine when she spoke of her son. "Quite an imagination, though. He made it sound like you single-handedly fought off a shark to save him." "Nothing so dramatic," Olivia said. "He swam out too far and got into trouble. I happened to be there." "Well, I'm grateful you were." Caroline's gaze was appraising. "Though I'm surprised Nathaniel let him near the water. He knows Leo's not a strong swimmer." Before Olivia could respond, the door opened again, and Nathaniel and Leo entered. Leo spotted his mother immediately. "Mom!" he shouted, running to her. "You came early!" Caroline embraced her son, then straightened to face Nathaniel, whose expression had shifted from surprised to guarded. "Caroline, I wasn't expecting you until tomorrow." "Clearly." Her tone was cool. "I tried calling, but you didn't answer." "We were getting picnic supplies," Leo explained. "And we came to get Olivia because she's coming with us." Caroline's eyebrow arched slightly as she glanced at Olivia. "Is she? How nice." Olivia suddenly felt like an intruder in a private family drama. "Actually, I should probably stay and mind the store," she said quickly. "Another time, perhaps." "No!" Leo protested. "You promised." "Olivia," Nathaniel began, but Caroline interrupted him. "Don't change your plans on my account," she said smoothly. "In fact, why don't I join you? I'd love to spend some time with Leo, and it would give me a chance to thank Ms. Hart properly for saving our son." The emphasis on "our" was subtle, but unmistakable. Olivia looked at Nathaniel, unsure how to proceed. His jaw was tight, but he nodded. "Of course, we have plenty of food." The picnic was an exercise in polite tension. They found a spot on the beach, spreading blankets on the sand while Leo excitedly showed his mother the books Olivia had helped him select. Caroline was unfailingly gracious, asking Olivia questions about the bookstore and complimenting her knowledge of children's literature. Yet beneath the pleasant conversation, Olivia sensed an evaluation taking place, as though she were being interviewed for a position she hadn't applied for. "So, you've lived in Sandpoint your whole life?" Caroline asked as she delicately picked at a strawberry. "Except for college," Olivia confirmed. "I studied English literature at Berkeley, then came back to help my parents with the store." "Berkeley?" Caroline nodded approvingly. "That's where Nathaniel and I met. He was already working on what would become Reed Enterprises even then. Such vision." She smiled at her ex-husband, who was helping Leo build a sandcastle a few feet away. Always ahead of the curve. Olivia wasn't sure if Caroline was reminiscing or marking territory. Either way, she felt increasingly out of place. "How long are you staying in Sandpoint?" she asked, trying to steer the conversation to neutral ground. "That depends," Caroline replied, her gaze shifting to Leo. "I had planned to let the boys have their summer adventure, but after what happened." She shook her head. Perhaps Leo would be safer in the city, with proper supervision. Olivia frowned. "It was an accident. Nathaniel is an attentive father. Of course he is when he's not distracted by work or other interests." Caroline's eyes met Olivia's directly. "Nathaniel has a big heart, but his attention can be transient. It's something I've come to terms with over the years." Before Olivia could respond to this thinly veiled warning, Leo came racing over. "Mom! Dad! Come see our castle! Olivia, you too!" The sandcastle was impressively detailed, with turrets and a moat that filled with water from the incoming tide. Leo proudly explained each architectural feature while Nathaniel added a drawbridge made of driftwood. "It's wonderful, sweetheart," Caroline praised. "But we should probably pack up soon. The tide's coming in." "Not yet," Leo pleaded. "I want to swim first." A flicker of anxiety crossed Nathaniel's face. "I don't think that's a good idea, buddy. Not after what happened." "But Dad, you said I have to get back on the horse, and Olivia can help me. She's the best swimmer ever." All eyes turned to Olivia, who felt suddenly put on the spot. "Maybe your dad could take you in for just a little while," she suggested diplomatically. "I'll watch from here." Nathaniel seemed to appreciate her not undermining his authority. "All right, 10 minutes. But you stay right with me, understood?" Leo nodded eagerly, already pulling off his t-shirt. Nathaniel stripped down to his swim trunks, revealing a physique that made Olivia quickly avert her gaze. "You don't swim?" Olivia asked Caroline as they watched father and son wade into the shallow water. "Not if I can help it," Caroline replied with a small smile. "I prefer pools to open water. Too many variables in the ocean." She turned to face Olivia directly. "I appreciate what you did for Leo, truly. But I should warn you, Nathaniel's life is complicated. His company, his responsibilities, they don't leave much room for distractions." "I'm not a distraction," Olivia said quietly. "I'm just someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time." Caroline's expression softened slightly. "You seem like a lovely person, Olivia. I'd hate to see you hurt when Nathaniel inevitably returns to his real life." Before Olivia could respond, Leo's excited shout drew their attention back to the water. He was riding on his father's shoulders, laughing as Nathaniel pretended to be a sea monster. The joy on both their faces was palpable, a moment of pure connection that made Olivia's heart ache with its beauty, and with the knowledge that Caroline might be right, that this wasn't her world and never could be. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of strained politeness. When they finally parted ways outside Hart's Books, Caroline announced that she would be staying at Nathaniel's house for a few days to spend time with Leo. The look she gave Olivia as she said this carried a clear message. The family circle was closed. "I'll call you," Nathaniel said quietly to Olivia as Leo and Caroline walked toward the car. Olivia nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She watched them drive away, the perfect family tableau, mother, father, son, leaving her standing alone on the sidewalk outside the shabby bookstore that was both her pride and her prison. That evening, as she closed up shop, Olivia tried to be practical. Whatever had sparked between her and Nathaniel had been a momentary fantasy, fueled by the drama of the rescue and the romance of a starlit dinner. Caroline's arrival had simply brought reality crashing back. Yet when her phone chimed with a message just before midnight, Olivia couldn't stop her heart from leaping. "I'm sorry about today," Nathaniel had written. "Caroline's arrival was unexpected. Can we talk tomorrow? Just us?" Olivia stared at the screen for a long moment before typing her reply. "Yes. Come by the store after closing, 6 p.m. Whatever was happening between them, whatever complications lay ahead, Olivia knew one thing for certain. She wasn't ready to let go just yet. The final customer of the day, Mrs. Finch, who always spent an hour browsing only to purchase a single paperback, had finally left. Olivia flipped the sign to closed and began her closing routine, straightening shelves and tallying the day's modest sales. She was emptying the register when she heard a gentle knock on the door. Nathaniel stood outside, his expression a mixture of apology and hope. Olivia hesitated only briefly before unlocking the door. "Hi," he said as he stepped inside. "Hi," she replied, suddenly unsure what to do with her hands. She settled for crossing her arms loosely in front of her. "I wanted to apologize for yesterday," Nathaniel began. "Caroline's arrival was unexpected." "You don't owe me an explanation," Olivia said, moving behind the counter to continue counting the day's earnings. The familiar task gave her something to focus on besides the way Nathaniel's presence seemed to fill the small store. "Maybe not, but I want to give you one anyway." He approached the counter but maintained a respectful distance. "Caroline and I share custody of Leo. She was supposed to arrive tomorrow to take him for 2 weeks. Her showing up early, unannounced. It's typical Caroline, always changing plans at the last minute." Olivia nodded, not looking up from her task. "She seems very protective of Leo." "She is. We both are." Nathaniel ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Olivia was beginning to recognize as a sign of his frustration. "The thing is, Caroline and I have been divorced for 3 years, but she still acts like she has a say in every aspect of my life, including who I spend time with." Now Olivia did look up. "Did she say something to you? About me?" Nathaniel's wry smile confirmed her suspicion. She had quite a lot to say on the drive home. Most of it along the lines of, "What are you thinking?" and "She's not from our world." The words stung, even though they echoed Olivia's own doubts. She might have a point. "No, she doesn't," Nathaniel said firmly. "Look, I know we've only just met, and this whole situation is complicated. But I feel something when I'm with you, Olivia, something I haven't felt in a very long time." His honesty disarmed her. "I feel it too," she admitted. "But that doesn't change the reality. You live in a world of tech innovations and board meetings. I sell used books in a small coastal town, not to mention you have Leo to consider." "Leo adores you already," Nathaniel pointed out. "And as for the rest, why does any of that matter? We're 2 people who enjoy each other's company. Can't we just see where this goes?" Olivia wanted to believe it could be that simple, but Caroline's warning echoed in her mind. "Your ex-wife seems to think I'm just a distraction, something that will hold your attention until you return to your real life." Nathaniel's expression hardened. "Caroline doesn't get to decide what's real in my life." He stepped closer, placing his hands on the counter. "The night you saved Leo, I was on the phone with my CFO, arguing about whether to delay a product launch. That's been my life for the past decade. Constant decisions, constant pressure. But since meeting you, I've felt something different, something better." His words sent a warmth through Olivia that had nothing to do with the summer evening. Still, she hesitated. "What exactly are you asking for, Nathaniel?" "Time," he said simply. "Time to get to know each other. Caroline will take Leo tomorrow for her scheduled 2 weeks. I had planned to return to San Francisco, but I could stay in Sandpoint. We could have dinner again or go sailing or just walk on the beach. Whatever you want. The idea of having Nathaniel to herself for 2 weeks was both thrilling and terrifying. What about your work? Your constant decisions? I have a capable team, and the beauty of technology is that I can work from anywhere. His smile was both wry and hopeful. What do you say, Olivia? Will you give us a chance? Before she could answer, the bell above the door chimed. Olivia looked up, startled. She was sure she'd locked it after letting Nathaniel in. Leo burst into the store, followed by an exasperated-looking Caroline. "I told you to wait in the car," Caroline said, her tone sharp. "But I wanted to see Olivia," Leo protested. His face brightened when he spotted her. "Olivia, I finished the first book already. The part with the giant squid was awesome." Despite the awkward situation, Olivia couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm. "That was quick. Did you like the ending?" "It was a cliffhanger," Leo complained. "I need the next one right away." "Leo," Nathaniel interjected, his voice gentle but firm. "The store is closed. We can come back tomorrow." Caroline's gaze moved between Nathaniel and Olivia, her expression calculating. "Actually, I thought we might head back to the city tonight. Leo has his swimming lessons on Monday, and I'd like to get him settled in." "Tonight?" Nathaniel frowned. "We agreed you'd take him tomorrow. I've already made arrangements." "Plans change," Caroline said with a shrug. "Besides, it seems like you have other interests to occupy your time." Her pointed glance at Olivia made the implication clear. "Caroline," Nathaniel's voice held a warning note, "can we discuss this privately?" "Why? I'm sure Ms. Hart understands how complicated co-parenting can be." Caroline's smile was polite but cool. "And as Leo's mother, I need to ensure he's getting the stability and attention he deserves." The underlying accusation hung in the air that Nathaniel's interest in Olivia somehow threatened his ability to be a good father. "I want to stay with Dad," Leo announced, oblivious to the tension between the adults. "We're supposed to go fishing on Sunday." "We can go fishing at the lake house," Caroline countered. "You love it there." "It's not the same," Leo insisted. "And Dad promised to take me and Olivia sailing." All eyes turned to Olivia, who felt trapped in a family drama she had no place in. "Leo, I'm sure whatever your parents decide will be what's best for you," she said carefully. "See? Even Olivia agrees," Caroline said triumphantly. "Now let's go pack your things, sweetheart." "But," Leo began to protest. "Leo," Nathaniel crouched down to his son's level. "Why don't you go wait in the car with your mom? I'll be right out, and we can talk about this more at home." After a moment of hesitation, Leo reluctantly allowed Caroline to lead him out. As the door closed behind them, Nathaniel turned back to Olivia, his expression apologetic. "I'm sorry about that. Caroline is, well, she's always been skilled at manipulation." "She's just protecting her son," Olivia said, though she wasn't sure why she was defending Caroline. "No, she's asserting control," Nathaniel corrected. "This isn't about Leo's well-being. It's about making sure I don't have anything in my life that she doesn't approve of." "And I definitely fall into that category," Olivia said with a small, sad smile. Nathaniel moved closer, taking her hands in his. "I don't care what Caroline thinks, or what anyone thinks for that matter. I care about what I feel when I'm with you." His touch sent a current through her, making it hard to think clearly. "And what do you feel?" "Alive," he said simply, "more alive than I've felt in years." The sincerity in his eyes made Olivia's resistance crumble. Before she could second-guess herself, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, a question more than a demand. But when Nathaniel's arms wrapped around her, pulling her closer, the kiss deepened into something more urgent, more honest. Olivia felt herself responding with a hunger that surprised her, her hands moving to his shoulders, his neck, his hair. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Nathaniel rested his forehead against hers. "I've been wanting to do that since the night of our dinner," he confessed. "Me too," Olivia admitted. "But this complicates things even more." "I don't care," Nathaniel said, his voice rough with emotion. "I'll handle Caroline. I'll handle whatever comes. Just tell me you want this too." Olivia knew she should be cautious. She knew all the reasons this was a bad idea, their different worlds, his ex-wife's hostility, the complications of his life with Leo. But in that moment, with the taste of him still on her lips, she couldn't bring herself to be practical. "I want this," she whispered. "I want to see where this goes." Nathaniel's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. He kissed her again, more gently this time, a promise of things to come. "I should go deal with Caroline," he said reluctantly, "but I'll call you later." Olivia nodded, already missing his warmth as he stepped away. "Good luck." After Nathaniel left, Olivia leaned against the counter, her fingers touching her lips as if to preserve the feeling of his kiss. She knew she had just crossed a line, one that would forever change her quiet, predictable life. The question was whether that change would bring joy or heartbreak. As promised, Nathaniel called later that night. The conversation with Caroline had been tense but productive. She had agreed to stick to the original plan, taking Leo the next day rather than that night. But there was a condition. "She wants to meet with both of us tomorrow morning," Nathaniel explained, "to discuss her concerns." Olivia's stomach tightened. Is that really necessary? Probably not, but it's easier to agree than to fight. Caroline is persistent when she doesn't get her way. There was a weariness in his voice that made Olivia wonder how many battles he had fought and lost with his ex-wife. "All right," she agreed. "Where and when?" "The cafe next to your store, 9 o'clock. That way you can still open on time." After they hung up, Olivia lay in bed, her mind too full to sleep. The events of the past few days seemed surreal. The rescue, the dinner, the complications with Caroline, and now the kiss that had changed everything. She had known Nathaniel Reed for less than a week, yet he had somehow become the center of her thoughts, the catalyst for emotions she had long kept dormant. The practical part of her, the part that had kept the bookstore running after her parents' deaths, the part that paid bills and fixed leaky roofs and worried about the future, knew that this infatuation was dangerous. Nathaniel lived in a world of wealth and influence that she could hardly imagine. Caroline's warning about being a distraction echoed in her mind, but another part of her, a part that had been silenced for too long, whispered of possibilities, of connection, of the way Nathaniel looked at her as if she were a rare first edition he had been searching for his entire life. As dawn broke over Sandpoint, Olivia made her decision. She would meet with Caroline, hear her concerns, and then decide with clear eyes and an open heart whether this fragile connection with Nathaniel was worth fighting for. Because despite all the complications, despite the voice of caution in her head, Olivia couldn't deny one simple truth. For the first time in years, she felt fully, vibrantly alive. And that feeling, like the kiss they had shared in the quiet of her bookstore, was something she wasn't ready to let go of just yet. Olivia arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, a habit ingrained from childhood. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of salt and coffee as she slipped into a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. She ordered a latte to calm her nerves, though the caffeine would likely have the opposite effect. At precisely 9 o'clock, the door opened. Caroline Reed entered first, immaculate in a cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. Nathaniel followed, his expression carefully neutral, with Leo between them. "Olivia!" Leo broke free from his parents and rushed to her table. "Dad says I have to go with Mom today, but he promised we'd all go sailing when I come back." "That sounds wonderful," Olivia said, smiling at his enthusiasm while carefully avoiding Nathaniel's gaze. "Did you finish that book?" "Almost. The part where they find the underwater city is so cool. Mom says she'll take me to the aquarium to see real sharks." His excitement was infectious, momentarily lightening the tension. Caroline placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. "Sweetheart, why don't you go choose a pastry while we talk with Ms. Hart?" Once Leo was safely engrossed in the display case, Caroline took the seat across from Olivia. Nathaniel hesitated before sitting beside his ex-wife, creating a united parental front that made Olivia feel distinctly like she was being interviewed. "Thank you for meeting with us," Caroline began, her tone cordial but cool. "I thought it would be beneficial to clear the air." "Of course," Olivia said, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup to keep them from fidgeting. "First, let me reiterate how grateful I am for what you did for Leo. That gratitude is genuine and separate from what I need to discuss today." Caroline folded her hands on the table. "The fact is, Nathaniel and I, despite our differences, are committed to co-parenting Leo with as much stability as possible." "I understand that," Olivia said. "Leo is clearly loved and well cared for by both of you." "Yes, he is," Caroline agreed. "Which is why I'm concerned about how quickly you've become involved in his life. Children Leo's age can form attachments very rapidly, especially to someone they view as a hero." Olivia glanced at Nathaniel, who was watching the exchange with a tight jaw. "I have no intention of disrupting Leo's life," she said carefully. "Intentions are one thing," Caroline replied. "Reality is another. Nathaniel has a pattern of becoming intensely focused on new interests, only to move on when the novelty wears off." "Caroline," Nathaniel's voice held a warning. "That's enough." "Is it?" Caroline turned to him. "How many projects have you abandoned over the years when something more exciting came along? How many relationships ended because you couldn't maintain interest once the challenge was gone?" Olivia felt a flush creep up her neck. Whatever history existed between Nathaniel and Caroline, she was being drawn into it against her will. "I appreciate your concern," she said, finding her voice. "But I think you're making assumptions about a situation you don't fully understand." Caroline's eyebrows rose slightly, as if surprised by Olivia's backbone. "And what situation is that exactly?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Nathaniel and I are getting to know each other, that's all. We're both adults capable of making our own decisions. And as for Leo, I would never do anything to hurt or confuse him." "You say that now," Caroline persisted. "But what happens when Nathaniel returns to San Francisco? When the demands of running a billion-dollar company take precedence over weekend trips to a small coastal town? Leo will be left wondering why his swimming hero disappeared from his life." "That's not going to happen," Nathaniel interjected firmly. "Really?" Caroline's skepticism was evident. "You're telling me you're prepared to give up the CEO position you've worked your entire adult life for? To live in Sandpoint permanently? To give Leo the stable, present father he deserves?" Nathaniel opened his mouth to respond, but Olivia spoke first. "I think you're getting ahead of yourself," she said, surprising even herself with her calm tone. "No one is talking about permanent life changes after a few days of acquaintance. What Nathaniel and I are asking for is the space to explore whatever this connection between us might be, without premature judgments or unnecessary complications." Caroline studied her for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. A small, genuine smile that transformed her face. "Well said, Ms. Hart." She leaned back in her chair. "Perhaps I've underestimated you." Olivia wasn't sure how to respond to this apparent shift. "I just want to be clear about my intentions." "Clarity is good," Caroline nodded. "I value directness, which is something Nathaniel can sometimes lack." She gave her ex-husband a pointed look. "So let me be equally direct. I don't object to Nathaniel having a personal life. In fact, I've encouraged it. But Leo's emotional well-being is non-negotiable. If this exploration between you two begins to affect him negatively, I will intervene." "That's fair," Olivia acknowledged. "Glad we understand each other." Caroline checked her watch. "We should get going if we're going to beat the traffic." She called Leo over from the pastry display. Time to say goodbye to your father and Ms. Hart, sweetheart." Leo's face fell, but he dutifully hugged Nathaniel. "See you in 2 weeks, Dad. Don't forget about the sailing." "I won't forget," Nathaniel promised, ruffling his son's hair. To Olivia's surprise, Leo then threw his arms around her waist. "Bye, Olivia. Take care of Dad while I'm gone. He gets lonely." Olivia hugged him back, touched by his concern. "I'll do my best." As Caroline gathered her purse and Leo's backpack, she paused beside Olivia. "He's not as invincible as he pretends to be," she said quietly, nodding toward Nathaniel, who was helping Leo with his jacket. "Never has been." Before Olivia could respond to this unexpected confidence, Caroline was ushering Leo toward the door. They paused for one final wave before disappearing into the bright morning. A heavy silence fell between Olivia and Nathaniel. Finally, he spoke. "I'm sorry about that. Caroline can be intense." "Actually, it went better than I expected," Olivia admitted. "She's protective of Leo, but I understand that." Nathaniel reached across the table to take her hand. "Thank you for coming, and for standing your ground. Caroline respects strength, even if she'd never admit it." "I wasn't trying to be strong. I was just being honest." Olivia intertwined her fingers with his. "Was she right, though? About you losing interest when the challenge is gone?" Nathaniel's expression grew serious. "In business, maybe. I do tend to move from project to project once the initial problem is solved. But in my personal life?" He shook his head. "Caroline and I had problems long before we divorced, most stemming from my workaholic tendencies and her need for control. But it wasn't about losing interest." Olivia nodded, processing this. "So what now? You have 2 weeks without Leo." "Now," Nathaniel smiled, "we get to know each other properly. No family drama, no near-drowning emergencies, just us." The prospect was both thrilling and terrifying. "I do have a bookstore to run," Olivia reminded him. "And I have a company to oversee," he acknowledged. "But we both have evenings free. And maybe you could take a day off? When was the last time you had a proper day to yourself?" Olivia tried to remember. "Before my parents died, probably, 3 years ago." "Then it's long overdue." Nathaniel's thumb traced circles on her palm, sending shivers up her arm. "Say yes, Olivia. Give us these 2 weeks." Looking into his hopeful eyes, Olivia found she couldn't refuse. Yes. The next 2 weeks unfolded like a dream. Each day, Nathaniel would work remotely from his cliffside home while Olivia tended to the bookstore. But each evening, they were together, sometimes at fine restaurants in neighboring towns, sometimes walking barefoot along the beach, sometimes simply sitting on Olivia's small balcony above the bookstore, talking until the stars filled the sky. Olivia learned about Nathaniel's childhood as the son of a Silicon Valley pioneer, the pressure he had felt to succeed, the drive that had made him a tech prodigy, but a distant husband. Nathaniel discovered Olivia's passion for literature, her struggle to keep her parents' legacy alive, her quiet strength in the face of mounting financial difficulties. On her day off, Nathaniel took her sailing on a sleek yacht he had rented from the marina. The day was perfect. Clear skies, a steady breeze, and the endless blue horizon stretching before them. As they anchored in a secluded cove for lunch, Olivia found herself sharing hopes and fears she had never voiced aloud. "The bookstore is failing," she admitted, watching gulls circle overhead. "I've tried everything, book clubs, author events, a small cafe in the corner, but each month we lose more ground to online retailers. At this rate, I'll have to close by Christmas." Nathaniel's expression was thoughtful as he refilled their wine glasses. "Have you considered specializing? Focusing on rare books or first editions? Something that would draw collectors?" "That requires capital I don't have," Olivia said, the familiar weight of worry settling on her shoulders. "The building needs repairs. The inventory needs updating. I've been running on fumes and stubbornness for the past year." "Would you consider taking on an investor?" Nathaniel asked carefully. Olivia stiffened. "If you're offering—" "I'm not," he quickly assured her. At least not directly. But I know people who specifically invest in preserving independent bookstores. It's become something of a cause in literary circles. I don't want charity, Olivia said, her pride bristling. It wouldn't be charity. It would be a business opportunity for someone who values what you've built. Nathaniel took her hand. Just think about it. No pressure. Olivia nodded, though the idea of accepting outside help, of admitting she couldn't save her parents' store on her own, was difficult to swallow. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the water, Nathaniel steered them back toward the harbor. The comfortable silence between them was broken only by the sound of waves against the hull and the occasional cry of seabirds. I never expected this, Nathaniel said suddenly. Expected what? This feeling. He gestured between them. This ease. Being with you is like finding a piece of myself I didn't know was missing. The raw honesty in his voice made Olivia's heart swell. I feel it too, she admitted, but it scares me. Why? Nathaniel asked, moving to sit beside her at the bow. Because I'm starting to need this. Need you. Olivia looked out at the darkening horizon. And when these 2 weeks are over, when you go back to your real life— This is real, Nathaniel interrupted, taking her face gently in his hands. What I feel for you is more real than anything I've felt in years. Don't let Caroline's words make you doubt that. As he kissed her, deep and slow and full of promise, Olivia allowed herself to believe him, to believe that what they were building together could withstand the distance between their worlds, the complications of his life, the uncertainties of hers. That night, beneath a canopy of stars on the deck of his cliffside home, their kisses turned to something more urgent, more primal. Clothes were discarded, breaths mingled, bodies joined in a dance as old as time itself. And in the aftermath, as they lay tangled in each other, Olivia knew there was no going back. Whatever happened when these 2 weeks ended, she had given her heart to Nathaniel Reed. The question was whether he would cherish it or break it beyond repair. The days slipped by like pages turning in a well-loved book, each one filled with discoveries both small and profound. Olivia learned that Nathaniel took his coffee black but secretly adored overly sweet desserts. Nathaniel discovered Olivia's habit of reading the last page of a novel first, something he found both baffling and endearing. They settled into a rhythm that felt both novel and familiar, as if they had known each other for years instead of days. Mornings began with Olivia's sunrise swims, now often joined by Nathaniel. Afternoons saw her at the bookstore while he worked from his home office, both connected by text messages that ranged from mundane updates to profound observations. Evenings belonged to them alone. Dinners at hidden local gems Olivia introduced him to, walks along moonlit beaches, and nights spent learning the geography of each other's bodies. It was during one such evening, as they sat on the deck of Nathaniel's home sharing a bottle of wine, that Olivia first noticed the shift in his demeanor. His phone had been buzzing incessantly for the past hour, and though he'd tried to ignore it, the tension in his shoulders betrayed his concern. "You can answer it," she said gently. "It seems important." Nathaniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's work. There's an issue with our new privacy software. The beta testers found a significant vulnerability. Shouldn't your team be able to handle it?" "They should, and normally they would." His expression grew troubled. "But this particular problem might affect our entire security framework. If word gets out before we fix it, our stock could take a serious hit." Olivia nodded, though the world of stock prices and security frameworks was foreign to her. "Do what you need to do. I understand." With a grateful smile, Nathaniel took the call. What followed was a conversation filled with technical jargon Olivia couldn't begin to decipher. She sipped her wine and gazed out at the ocean, trying not to feel like an outsider in his world. When he finally hung up, Nathaniel's expression was grim. "I need to fly back to San Francisco tomorrow, just for a day or two. This requires my direct attention." Olivia nodded, ignoring the sinking feeling in her stomach. "Of course, your company needs you." "I'm sorry," he said, reaching for her hand. "This isn't how I wanted our time together to end." "It's not ending," Olivia said firmly, though she wasn't entirely convinced. "It's just a brief interruption. Besides, Leo will be back soon, and we all have that sailing trip to look forward to." Nathaniel pulled her close, his kiss a silent promise of return. Later, as they lay tangled in his sheets, his arms wrapped protectively around her, Olivia tried to quiet the voice in her head that whispered this might be the beginning of the end. That Caroline's warning about being a distraction from his real life was proving prophetic sooner than expected. The next morning, Olivia watched as Nathaniel packed an overnight bag. The casual domesticity of the scene, him deciding which shirts to take, her sitting cross-legged on his bed, made her heart ache with its temporary nature. "I'll be back before you know it," he promised, zipping the bag closed. 2 days, 3 at most." "I'll hold down the fort," Olivia smiled, determined not to show her anxiety. "The bookstore keeps me busy anyway." Nathaniel paused, studying her face. "Are you worried about something?" Olivia hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "A little. This is the first test of whatever this is between us. Long distance, even temporarily, changes things." "Not between us," Nathaniel said with such conviction that Olivia almost believed him. "I've spent years chasing success, Olivia. I've missed birthdays, holidays, entire chapters of Leo's childhood because I thought the next deal, the next product, the next milestone was what mattered. I'm not making that mistake again." He sat beside her on the bed, taking both her hands in his. "These past 2 weeks have shown me what's truly important. You. This connection we've found. I'm not going to let distance or work or anything else jeopardize that." Olivia wanted to believe him, but the reality of their different lives, his in the fast-paced world of tech innovation, hers in the quiet routine of a small coastal town, seemed suddenly more pronounced. "Just come back," she said simply. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away." His kiss was a promise sealed in warmth and certainty. After Nathaniel left for the airport, Olivia returned to her apartment above the bookstore, the space feeling emptier than it had before. She opened the store as usual, greeting her regular customers with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. By mid-afternoon, Olivia sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Mrs. Grayson and her friend Mrs. Peterson lingered longer than usual by the new releases, their heads bent together in whispered conversation. They fell silent when Olivia approached to offer assistance. "Finding everything all right?" she asked. "Oh, yes, dear," Mrs. Grayson said with a knowing smile. "We were just discussing the excitement in town lately." "Excitement?" Olivia repeated, though she had a sinking feeling she knew what they meant. "Well, it's not every day that Sandpoint hosts a tech billionaire," Mrs. Peterson chimed in, "especially one who seems to have taken quite an interest in our local businesses." The emphasis on businesses made it clear they weren't talking about commercial investment. "Nathaniel has been enjoying his time here with his son," Olivia said neutrally. "Sandpoint has a lot to offer visitors." "Indeed it does," Mrs. Grayson nodded, her eyes twinkling. "Though I hear young Leo has been away with his mother these past 2 weeks while Mr. Reed has remained locally engaged." Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. Small towns thrived on gossip, but she hadn't expected to become its subject quite so quickly. "Nathaniel had some work to catch up on while Leo is with his mother," she said, her tone cooling. "Now, can I help you find anything specific today?" The women exchanged glances before Mrs. Peterson selected a mystery novel and Mrs. Grayson picked up the latest bestseller. As Olivia rang up their purchases, Mrs. Grayson leaned in confidentially. "Just be careful, dear. Men like that, they're from a different world. They play by different rules." "Thank you for your concern," Olivia replied stiffly, "but I'm quite capable of managing my own affairs." As the day progressed, Olivia became increasingly aware of the sidelong glances and hushed conversations that fell silent when she approached. By closing time, her patience was worn thin. When her sister Kate called, it was almost a relief to have someone to vent to. "The whole town is talking about us," Olivia complained as she locked the store's front door. "Mrs. Grayson practically warned me off him like I'm some naive teenager." "Well, you have been spending a lot of time with him," Kate pointed out. "And he is pretty newsworthy around here. What did you expect?" "I expected people to mind their own business," Olivia grumbled, climbing the stairs to her apartment. "In Sandpoint?" Kate laughed. "Dream on, sis. So where is the handsome billionaire tonight?" Olivia's mood deflated further. "Back in San Francisco. Some work emergency." "Ah," Kate's tone was carefully neutral. "And when is he coming back?" "Soon. A couple of days." Olivia sank onto her couch, suddenly exhausted. "He had to go, Kate. His company is facing some kind of security crisis." "I'm sure it is," Kate said diplomatically, "and I'm sure he'll be back exactly when he says." "But," Olivia prompted, hearing the unspoken reservation in her sister's voice. Kate sighed. "No, but. I want you to be careful, Liv. Not because he's rich or famous, but because this happened so fast. 2 weeks ago, you didn't even know each other. Now you're practically living together." "We're not living together," Olivia protested, though she had spent more nights at Nathaniel's home than her own recently. "You know what I mean. This has been intense from the start. The rescue, the gratitude, the immediate connection. I just don't want to see you hurt if it turns out to be more of a vacation romance for him." Olivia wanted to argue, to defend what she and Nathaniel had built in these 2 weeks. But hadn't she harbored the same fears herself? "I care about him, Kate," she said quietly. "More than I expected to, and I think he feels the same." "I hope he does," Kate said sincerely. "Just keep your eyes open, okay? And remember that no matter what happens, you've got me." After hanging up, Olivia tried to distract herself with a book, but her mind kept wandering to Nathaniel. Was he in meetings now? Had they solved the security problem? Was he thinking about her? Her phone chimed with a text. "Missing you already. The hotel room feels empty without you. Call when you can?" The simple message eased some of her anxiety. She called immediately, and Nathaniel answered on the first ring. "Hi," she said, suddenly shy. "There you are." His voice was warm, enveloping her across the miles. "How was your day?" "Apparently we're the talk of the town," Olivia told him about Mrs. Grayson and the whispers in the bookstore. Nathaniel chuckled. "I'm sorry. I should have warned you. Being seen with me sometimes comes with unwanted attention." "It's not the attention that bothers me," Olivia admitted. "It's the assumptions, that this is temporary, that you'll leave and never look back." A brief silence followed. Then Nathaniel spoke, his voice serious. "Is that what you're worried about too?" "Maybe," Olivia conceded. "This has all happened so quickly, Nathaniel, and our lives are so different. You're there dealing with tech crises and company stock prices while I'm here selling paperbacks and fending off nosy neighbors. And missing me, I hope," he added softly. "Of course I'm missing you. That's part of the problem." "It's not a problem, Olivia. It's a sign that what we have is real." Nathaniel's conviction was unwavering. "The meetings today, the corporate fires I'm putting out, they're part of my job, but they're not my life. Not anymore. My life is Leo, and now it's you too." His words wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace. "I want to believe that." "Then believe it, because it's true." The sound of a door opening came through the phone. "I have to go. The team is here with updates, but I'll call you later and I'll be back as soon as humanly possible." "Go save your company," Olivia said, forcing lightness into her tone. "I'll be here." After they hung up, Olivia stared at her phone, wondering if his confidence was justified. Could they really bridge the gap between their worlds? Or was Kate right to be concerned about the whirlwind nature of their relationship? The next morning, Olivia woke to a text from Nathaniel. Good news and bad news. Good. We found the security flaw. Bad. Fixing it requires more time than expected. Might be another day or two before I can return. Missing you terribly." Olivia typed back a supportive response, ignoring the twinge of disappointment. One more day was reasonable. 2 was still manageable. But the "or 2" left a door open to an indefinite delay that made her uneasy. As she prepared to open the bookstore, her phone chimed with a news alert. Her heart dropped as she read the headline, "Reed Enterprises stock plummets amid security concerns. CEO Nathaniel Reed calls emergency board meeting." Whatever was happening in San Francisco, it was clearly more serious than Nathaniel had let on. And as Olivia flipped the sign to "open," she couldn't shake the feeling that the fairy tale of the past 2 weeks was slowly dissolving, giving way to a reality neither of them had been ready to face. One day stretched into 3, then 5, then a full week. Olivia and Nathaniel's communication, initially constant and reassuring, began to show signs of strain. Their phone calls grew shorter, often interrupted by urgent matters on his end. Texts that had once been thoughtful and intimate became brief updates and apologies. "Another emergency board meeting. Can't talk tonight. So sorry. Miss you." Olivia stared at the latest message, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. She understood intellectually that Nathaniel was dealing with a genuine crisis. The business news had been dominated by reports of Reed Enterprises' security breach and the potential fallout for clients and shareholders. But understanding didn't ease the ache of his absence or quiet the doubts that grew louder with each passing day. The bookstore provided some distraction, though sales remained dismally low. Olivia was reviewing the monthly accounts, a depressing task at the best of times, when the bell above the door chimed. She looked up to see Kate entering, carrying 2 takeout cups from the cafe next door. "I thought you could use this," Kate said, placing one of the cups on the counter. "Extra shot of espresso, just how you like it." "You're a lifesaver," Olivia said gratefully, inhaling the rich aroma. "I was just looking at the numbers for July. They're not great." Kate peered over her shoulder at the ledger. "That bad?" "Worse," Olivia sighed. "At this rate, I'll have to dip into my personal savings just to cover next month's overhead, and there's not much left there." "What about that investor Nathaniel mentioned?" Kate asked, perching on a stool beside the counter. Olivia shook her head. "We never got around to discussing details before he left, and now—" She gestured vaguely, unwilling to articulate her growing fear that Nathaniel might not return to Sandpoint at all. Kate studied her sister's face. "Still no word on when he's coming back?" "It's been one more day for a week now." Olivia tried to keep the bitterness from her voice. "I get it. His company is in crisis, but it feels like I'm getting pushed further and further down his priority list. Have you told him how you feel?" "When?" Olivia laughed without humor. "Between his board meetings and damage control press conferences. Besides, what right do I have to demand his attention during the biggest crisis of his career?" "The right of someone who cares about him," Kate said simply, "and someone he supposedly cares about." Before Olivia could respond, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. Her heart leaped when she saw Nathaniel's name on the screen. "I should take this," she said, already reaching for the phone. Kate nodded, giving her sister's arm a supportive squeeze before moving to browse the bookshelves, providing some privacy. "Hey," Olivia answered, trying to sound casual rather than desperate. "Olivia?" Just the way Nathaniel said her name with such warmth and relief eased some of her anxiety. "God, it's good to hear your voice. I'm so sorry about the radio silence." "It's okay. I know you're dealing with a lot." Olivia moved toward the back of the store, lowering her voice. "How are things going?" Nathaniel sighed heavily. "It's been a nightmare. The security vulnerability was worse than we initially thought. We've had to rebuild significant portions of our framework, issue emergency patches to all our clients, and deal with a PR disaster. The stock has dropped 30%. I'm sorry, Olivia said, genuinely concerned for him. Is there anything I can do? Just talking to you helps more than you know. His voice softened. I miss you, Olivia. The condo feels empty. I keep thinking about those nights on the deck, watching the sunset with you. I miss you too, she admitted, the words inadequate for the ache in her chest. When do you think you'll be able to come back? There was a brief hesitation before Nathaniel answered. That's actually why I called. We've managed to contain the immediate crisis, but the board wants to accelerate the launch of our new security protocol to restore investor confidence, which means I'll need to stay in San Francisco for at least another 2 weeks. Olivia's heart sank. 2 more weeks, which might become 3, then 4. I see, she said quietly. I hate this as much as you do, Nathaniel continued, but I can't delegate this responsibility, not when the company's future is at stake. Thousands of jobs depend on me getting this right. I understand, Olivia said, because what else could she say? That she wanted him to abandon his company in its hour of need, that she resented being second to his professional obligations? Both were true, but neither was fair. Leo will be back with Caroline in 2 days, Nathaniel added. I've arranged for them to stay at the house in Sandpoint. I was hoping, well, maybe you could check in on them occasionally? Leo would love to see you. Olivia frowned, a new uneasiness taking root. Caroline is okay with that? She suggested it, actually. Nathaniel sounded surprised himself. Said Leo hasn't stopped talking about you and it would be good for him to have a familiar face around while I'm gone. Oh, well, of course I'll visit him. The thought of seeing Leo brightened her mood slightly. We never did get to go sailing. Maybe you could take him? There's a service at the marina that provides captains. I'll arrange everything. The offer was generous, thoughtful even. Yet Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that she was being managed, assigned a role in Leo's life that fit neatly into Nathaniel's absence. Olivia? Are you still there? Yes, sorry. She forced a lightness into her tone. That sounds nice. I'm sure Leo will enjoy it. Thank you. The relief in Nathaniel's voice was palpable. You're amazing, you know that? Most women would be furious with me right now. I'm not most women, Olivia said, the words coming out more sharply than intended. No, you're not, Nathaniel agreed, missing or choosing to ignore her tone. You're extraordinary. And I promise, as soon as this situation is under control, I'll make it up to you. We'll pick up right where we left off. But Olivia was beginning to wonder if that was possible, whether the intimate connection they'd forged during those perfect 2 weeks could survive the reality of his demanding career and their fundamentally different lives. I should go, she said, noting a customer entering the store. Good luck with everything. Olivia, wait. Nathaniel's voice took on an urgency that made her pause. I know this isn't what either of us wanted, but what we have, it's worth fighting for. I believe that. Do you? The question hung between them, laden with unspoken fears and hopes. Olivia closed her eyes, remembering the feel of his arms around her, the way his laughter made her heart race, the sense of possibility she'd felt in his presence. Yes, she said finally. I do. Then we'll get through this. I promise. The conviction in his voice was almost enough to quiet her doubts. Almost. After they hung up, Olivia returned to the counter where Kate was waiting with knowing eyes. 2 more weeks, Olivia said in answer to her sister's unasked question. At least, Kate added, not unkindly. At least, Olivia agreed, the reality of the situation settling heavily on her shoulders. True to Nathaniel's word, Caroline and Leo arrived in Sandpoint 2 days later. To Olivia's surprise, Caroline called her personally to invite her to dinner at the Cliffside house. Leo has been begging to see you, Caroline explained, her tone polite if not warm. And I thought it might be good for us to get to know each other better, given your relationship with Nathaniel. Olivia agreed, curious about this apparent change in Caroline's attitude. When she arrived at the house that evening, Leo greeted her with enthusiastic hugs and rapid-fire stories about his time in San Francisco. Caroline, elegant as always in white linen pants and a silk blouse, was gracious and welcoming, showing none of the territorial wariness from their previous encounters. Over a dinner prepared by a local chef Caroline had hired, the conversation flowed with surprising ease. Leo dominated much of it with his 8-year-old's exuberance, but during moments when he was distracted by dessert or a passing boat visible from the window, Caroline engaged Olivia in more serious discussion. "Nathaniel tells me your bookstore is experiencing some financial difficulties," she said as they moved to the deck for after-dinner coffee, Leo having been sent to get ready for bed. Olivia nearly choked on her coffee. "He told you that?" "We do talk," Caroline said with a small smile. "Despite our divorce, we're still connected through Leo and certain business interests. Nathaniel mentioned you might benefit from some investment." "Did he ask you to help?" Olivia felt a flush of embarrassment at the thought of Nathaniel discussing her financial problems with his ex-wife. "Not at all, but I happen to have some experience in this area." Caroline settled more comfortably in her chair. "Before I married Nathaniel, I worked in venture capital, specializing in retail businesses. These days I manage a small investment fund focusing on women-owned enterprises." Olivia blinked in surprise. Somehow she had never considered that Caroline might have her own career, her own expertise beyond being Nathaniel's ex-wife and Leo's mother. "I didn't know that," she admitted. "Most people don't look beyond the ex-Mrs. Reed label," Caroline said without bitterness. "But I've built something I'm proud of, and I might be able to help you if you're interested." "Why would you want to?" Olivia asked bluntly. Caroline considered the question, her gaze moving out to the darkening ocean. "Because Leo cares about you. Because I've seen the way your bookstore brings joy to this community. And because I believe women should support each other, especially in business." There was a sincerity in her voice that Olivia hadn't expected. Still, caution made her hesitate. "I'm not looking for charity." "Neither am I offering it," Caroline countered. "I'm talking about a legitimate investment opportunity, one that would benefit us both." Before Olivia could respond, Leo reappeared in his pajamas, asking for a bedtime story. The business discussion was shelved, but Caroline's offer lingered in Olivia's mind long after she had left the cliffside house and returned to her small apartment. The next morning brought another disappointment. A text from Nathaniel informed her that he wouldn't be able to call that day, or likely the next, due to marathon strategy sessions with the executive team. "Miss you desperately," he added at the end, as if the endearment could bridge the growing distance between them. Olivia stared at the message, a hollowness expanding in her chest. This was the reality of loving someone like Nathaniel Reed, always competing with the demands of a global enterprise, always waiting for crises to pass, always understanding that she couldn't be the priority. As she opened the bookstore that morning, Olivia found herself wondering if this was sustainable, if the brief, intense connection they had shared could withstand prolonged separation and the fundamental differences in their lives. Or if Caroline had been right from the start, Olivia was just a temporary distraction from Nathaniel's real life, a pleasant interlude that was already fading as reality reasserted itself. The bell above the door chimed, and Olivia looked up to see Caroline entering, dressed for business in a sleek pantsuit, a leather portfolio tucked under her arm. "I hope I'm not too early," she said, glancing around the empty store. "I thought we could discuss my investment proposal before customers arrive." Olivia hesitated, torn between professional interest and personal caution. Something about Caroline's timing, appearing just as Olivia's relationship with Nathaniel was showing signs of strain, felt too convenient to be coincidental. Yet the reality remained. Hart's Books was failing, and without intervention, Olivia would lose not just her livelihood but her parents' legacy. Could she afford to refuse help, even if it came from such an unexpected source? "Coffee?" Olivia offered, gesturing toward the small cafe area in the corner of the store. I think we have a lot to talk about. Caroline smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression that momentarily disarmed Olivia's suspicions. I think we do too. Caroline's investment proposal was both more generous and more shrewd than Olivia had expected. Seated in the small cafe corner of Hart's Books, the elegant businesswoman laid out a vision that managed to preserve the bookstore's character while enhancing its commercial viability. The core problem isn't your selection or your service, Caroline explained, referencing the market analysis she had somehow compiled in less than 48 hours. It's that you're trying to compete with online retailers on their terms. We need to create an experience they can't replicate. Olivia examined the proposed floor plans Caroline had brought. A reading lounge? Wine bar? Author residence program? People don't just want to buy books anymore. They want community, connection, a place to belong. Caroline's manicured finger traced the redesigned space. Hart's Books could become a cultural hub for Sandpoint, a destination. This would require significant renovation, Olivia noted, trying to keep her voice neutral despite the excitement building within her. The cost alone would be covered by my investment group, Caroline finished smoothly. In exchange for a 30% ownership stake, you'd maintain controlling interest and full operational authority. Olivia looked up from the plans, studying the woman across from her. Caroline Reed was the last person she had expected to rescue her failing bookstore. "Why are you really doing this?" she asked directly. "Is this about Nathaniel?" Caroline's expression remained composed, but something flickered in her blue eyes. "Would it matter if it was?" "Of course it would." "Fair enough." Caroline set down her coffee cup. "My interest is primarily business. Your store has potential, and I believe in the concept. But yes, there is a personal element." Olivia braced herself, expecting some veiled warning about staying away from Nathaniel, some complex manipulation designed to drive a wedge between them. "Leo loves this place," Caroline said instead. "He loves the books, the atmosphere, and he cares about you. If you closed, it would hurt him, and despite what you might think of me, I don't want to see that happen." The sincerity in her voice was disarming. "That's not what I expected you to say." A small smile curved Caroline's lips. "Let me guess. You thought this was some elaborate scheme to separate you from Nathaniel?" Olivia felt her cheeks warm. The thought had crossed my mind. "I won't pretend I wasn't concerned when you first entered our lives," Caroline admitted. "But I've watched you with Leo. I've seen how you care for this store, this community. You're not what I expected, Olivia Hart." "Neither are you," Olivia replied honestly. Caroline's laugh was surprisingly warm. "We ex-wives often get cast as the villain. It's refreshing not to be viewed that way." She gathered her materials, sliding them into a sleek portfolio. "Take some time to think about the proposal. Talk to your lawyer if you have one. This isn't a decision to rush into." As Caroline stood to leave, Olivia found herself asking, "Does Nathaniel know about this?" "No," Caroline said firmly. "And I'd prefer to keep it that way for now. This is between us, woman to woman, business person to business person. Nathaniel has enough on his plate without getting involved in my investment decisions or your business choices." After Caroline left, Olivia spent the quiet morning hours studying the proposal. The more she examined it, the more she recognized its brilliance. Caroline had identified exactly what Hart's Books needed to survive in the digital age. Transformation from a simple retail space into an experience, a community gathering place where books were just the beginning. By lunchtime, Olivia had nearly convinced herself to accept the offer. The only thing holding her back was a nagging sense that she should discuss it with Nathaniel first. But why? Hart's Books was her business, her responsibility. And Nathaniel was unavailable anyway, consumed by his own corporate crisis. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unexpected source. "Leo wants to know if you can take him sailing tomorrow. Driver will drop him at the store at 10 a.m. if that works for you. Caroline." Olivia smiled, warmth spreading through her at the thought of spending time with Leo. She texted back her agreement, then impulsively added, "And yes to the investment proposal. Let's talk details soon." The decision made, Olivia felt a curious mixture of excitement and trepidation. She was saving her bookstore, potentially transforming it into something even more meaningful than before. Yet she had done so by entering into a business relationship with her boyfriend's ex-wife without telling him. "It's just business," she told herself firmly. "There's nothing wrong with accepting a sound investment." But as she closed the store that evening, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that the lines between personal and professional were blurring in ways that might prove problematic. That night, Nathaniel called unexpectedly. His voice sounded tired but more relaxed than it had in days. "We've turned a corner," he said after they'd exchanged greetings. "The new security protocol is holding up in testing. If all goes well, I might be able to return to Sandpoint by the end of next week." "That's wonderful news," Olivia said, genuine relief flooding through her. "You sound exhausted, though." "I am. I've been sleeping in my office most nights." There was a rustling sound, as if he were stretching. "But hearing your voice makes it better. How are things there? Has Leo been behaving for Caroline?" "Actually, I'm taking him sailing tomorrow," Olivia said, curling up on her couch. "Caroline suggested it." "Really?" Nathaniel sounded surprised. "That's unusually accommodating of her." Something in his tone made Olivia hesitate. Should she mention the investment proposal? It seemed like the perfect opening. But then Nathaniel continued, "I'm glad you two are getting along. It makes things easier for everyone, especially Leo." He paused. "I've been thinking a lot about the future, Olivia, about what happens after this crisis is resolved." Her heart quickened. "Oh?" "These weeks apart have been clarifying. I don't want to be separated like this again. I don't want to miss another moment with you or with Leo." "What are you saying?" Olivia asked, hardly daring to hope. "I'm saying that when I come back, I want to discuss making some changes, finding a way to spend more time in Sandpoint, maybe bringing you to San Francisco sometimes too." His voice softened. "Building something real, something lasting." The words should have filled Olivia with joy. Instead, she felt a complicated knot of emotions. Happiness, yes, but also guilt about the secret business arrangement with Caroline, and uncertainty about whether Nathaniel's vision of their future could actually work. "That sounds wonderful," she said, pushing aside her doubts. This wasn't the time for difficult conversations, not when he was still in the midst of a corporate crisis. "I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too," he replied, his voice warm with feeling. "More than I can express. Being apart from you has been the hardest part of this whole ordeal." They talked for nearly an hour, longer than they had in days. By the time they hung up, Olivia felt reconnected to him, the distance between them somehow less daunting. Yet the unspoken secret of Caroline's investment hung over her like a cloud, casting a shadow on her otherwise brightening mood. The next morning dawned clear and perfect for sailing. Leo arrived at the bookstore promptly at 10, bubbling with excitement. The driver Caroline had arranged took them to the marina, where a sleek sailboat awaited with a captain who introduced himself as Miguel. "Dad said you're the best swimmer ever," Leo chattered as they boarded. "Can you teach me to swim better? I don't want to drown again." Olivia's heart melted at his earnest request. "Of course I can. We can start with some basics right after our sail if you'd like." Leo beamed, his small hand slipping naturally into hers as they found seats on deck. Miguel showed them how to adjust the sails and explained the basics of navigation, letting Leo take the wheel under close supervision. Watching the boy's face light up with accomplishment, Olivia felt a surge of affection that surprised her with its intensity. In just a few short weeks, Leo had carved out a place in her heart that she hadn't known was empty. "Look, Olivia! Dolphins!" Leo pointed excitedly at several sleek forms cutting through the waves alongside their boat. "They're beautiful," she agreed, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. "They must like you." "Dad says they're good luck," Leo informed her seriously. "He says seeing dolphins means something special is going to happen. Is that so? Olivia smiled. Well, we'll have to keep our eyes open for something special then. Leo nodded, then looked up at her with sudden solemnity. Are you going to be my dad's girlfriend forever? The question caught Olivia off guard. Well, your dad and I care about each other very much. Mom says you make him happy, Leo continued. She says he smiles more when he talks about you. Did she really say that? Olivia asked, surprised by Caroline's apparent endorsement. Uh-huh. And she said you're smart too because of your bookstore. Leo turned his attention back to the dolphins. I think you should marry Dad and be my stepmom. Then we could go sailing all the time. Olivia laughed, though the boy's words stirred something deep within her, a longing for exactly the future he described, coupled with fear that it might be too good to be true. Those are big decisions for grown-ups to make, she said gently. But I'm happy being your friend right now. Is that okay? Leo considered this, then nodded. Friends is good, but more than friends would be better. After the sailing excursion, Olivia gave Leo his first proper swimming lesson in the protected cove near Nathaniel's home. The boy was a quick learner, eager to master the techniques she showed him. By the end of the afternoon, he was floating on his back with growing confidence, his fear of the water visibly diminishing. You're a natural teacher, Caroline commented from the shore as Olivia helped Leo out of the water. She had arrived a few minutes earlier, elegant even in casual clothes, a wide-brimmed hat shading her face from the sun. He's a good student, Olivia replied, wrapping Leo in a towel. Mom, did you see me floating? Olivia says I'm getting really good. Leo's excitement was contagious. I saw, sweetheart. You were wonderful. Caroline's smile for her son was genuine and warm. Go rinse off in the outdoor shower, please. Dinner will be ready soon. As Leo scampered off toward the house, Caroline turned to Olivia. Would you like to stay for dinner? I've had Martina prepare enough for 3. The invitation was unexpected, but not unwelcome. I'd like that, thank you. Over a delicious meal on the terrace, with Leo regaling them with stories about dolphins and sailing adventures, Olivia found herself enjoying Caroline's company far more than she had anticipated. The woman was intelligent, witty, and surprisingly easy to talk to when she wasn't being protective of her territory. After Leo was sent upstairs to prepare for bed, Caroline brought out 2 glasses of wine. I've drafted the investment agreement, she said, transitioning smoothly from social to business. My lawyer will send it over tomorrow for your review. Thank you, Olivia said, taking the offered glass. I still can't quite believe this is happening. A month ago, I was resigned to closing the store by Christmas. And now? Caroline prompted. Now I'm entering a business partnership with my boyfriend's ex-wife, who until recently seemed to view me as a threat. Olivia couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. Life takes strange turns. Indeed it does. Caroline studied her for a moment. Have you told Nathaniel yet? Olivia's smile faded. No. He called last night, but it didn't seem like the right time. He's still dealing with the security crisis. And you're worried about how he'll react. It wasn't a question, but Olivia answered anyway. Yes. I'm not sure he'll understand why I accepted your help without discussing it with him first. Caroline's expression was knowing. Nathaniel likes to be in control, to be the one who solves problems, especially for the people he cares about. It's one of his more endearing and infuriating qualities. You still know him well, Olivia observed. 10 years of marriage leaves its mark. Caroline swirled the wine in her glass. We weren't always at odds, you know. Before the ambition and the company took over, before Leo, we were good together. There was no bitterness in her voice, just a reflective acceptance that made Olivia wonder what Caroline's true feelings for Nathaniel might be. What happened? She asked, then immediately regretted the personal question. I'm sorry. That's none of my business. It's a fair question. Caroline looked out at the darkening ocean. Success happened. Reed Enterprises took off and suddenly Nathaniel was working 18-hour days, traveling constantly. I was pregnant with Leo, feeling abandoned. We both made mistakes, said things we couldn't take back. She turned back to Olivia, her expression composed once more. But that's ancient history. The point is, I understand him. And if you want this relationship to work, you need to maintain your independence. Don't let Nathaniel's world swallow yours whole. The advice resonated uncomfortably with Olivia's own fears. Is that what happened to you? Caroline's smile was tinged with sadness. For a time, I gave up my career to be Mrs. Nathaniel Reed, perfect corporate wife and mother. It took the divorce for me to rediscover who I was, who I am, beyond those roles. She stood, signaling an end to the conversation. Tell him about our arrangement soon, Olivia, before he returns. It will be better coming from you than from me. Olivia nodded, knowing Caroline was right. The longer she kept this secret, the more it would seem like a betrayal when Nathaniel eventually discovered it. That night, she drafted and deleted multiple texts to Nathaniel, trying to find the right words to explain her business deal with his ex-wife. But how could she convey something so complex in a text message? And wouldn't it be better to wait until they could speak properly on the phone? Her indecision was resolved the next morning when she woke to a message from Nathaniel. Major breakthrough. Heading into 48 hours of final testing and implementation. Will be largely unreachable. Call you when it's done. Love you. The word love jumped out at her, the first time he had used it, even in text. Yet it came alongside another announcement of his unavailability, another reminder of the demands that would always compete for his attention. Olivia stared at the message for a long time, her emotions a tangled mess of longing, frustration, and uncertainty. Then she set her phone aside and began preparing for the day ahead, a day that would include signing papers that tied her future to Caroline Reed's vision for Hart's books, for better or worse. The investment agreement sat on Olivia's desk, the elegant fountain pen Caroline had provided resting beside it. Her lawyer, an old friend of her father's who had reviewed the contract pro bono, had pronounced it remarkably fair and even generous. There was nothing to prevent her from signing except the growing knot of anxiety in her stomach. She glanced at her phone. No new messages from Nathaniel. It had been nearly 48 hours since his last text about being unreachable during final testing. Part of her wanted to wait until she could discuss the partnership with him, but another part, the fiercely independent bookseller who had kept her parents' legacy alive through sheer determination, bristled at the idea that she needed his approval. "It's my business," she reminded herself aloud. "My decision." With a decisive motion, she picked up the pen and signed her name on the designated lines. The partnership was official. Caroline Reed's investment firm now owned 30% of Hart's books, and Olivia had the capital needed to transform the struggling store into something new and vibrant. She took a photo of the signed document and texted it to Caroline with a simple message. "It's done." The response came almost immediately. "Excellent. The contractor will contact you tomorrow to schedule the initial walkthrough. Dinner at the house tonight to celebrate? Leo has been asking for you." Olivia hesitated only briefly before accepting. Since their sailing excursion, she had spent several evenings at the cliffside home, ostensibly to give Leo swimming lessons, but increasingly because she genuinely enjoyed both his and Caroline's company. The dynamic between them was unexpected but surprisingly comfortable. Caroline's cool efficiency balancing Olivia's warmth, both women united in their affection for Leo. That evening, as they shared a meal on the terrace overlooking the bay, Caroline raised her wine glass in a toast. "To Hart's Books 2.0 and the women who will make it happen." Olivia clinked her glass against Caroline's, a smile spreading across her face despite her lingering concern about Nathaniel's reaction. "Thank you for believing in this. In me." "I only invest in winners," Caroline replied with characteristic directness. "And speaking of winners, your boyfriend appears to have successfully navigated his company's crisis. Olivia's heart jumped. "You've heard from him?" "The business news," Caroline clarified, showing Olivia her tablet. The headline read, "Reed Enterprises unveils revolutionary security protocol. Stock rebounds." "So he'll be coming back soon," Olivia said, relief and anxiety mingling in her chest. "Presumably." Caroline studied her face. "You still haven't told him about our arrangement." It wasn't a question, but Olivia shook her head anyway. "He's been unreachable, and it didn't seem like something to share via text." "Well, you'd better prepare what you're going to say," Caroline advised, "because if I know Nathaniel, he'll be on the first available flight now that the crisis is contained." As if summoned by their conversation, Olivia's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Nathaniel's name flashed on the screen. "Speak of the devil," Caroline murmured. "Take it. I'll keep Leo occupied." Olivia stepped away from the table, her heart racing as she answered. "Nathaniel?" "Olivia." His voice was warm, if tired. "God, it's good to hear you. These past 2 days have been insane, but we did it. The new security protocol is implemented, the clients are satisfied, and the stock is climbing again." "That's wonderful," Olivia said sincerely. "I'm so happy for you. I couldn't have gotten through this without knowing you were waiting for me," Nathaniel continued. "Your support, even from a distance, meant everything." Guilt twisted in Olivia's stomach. While he had been fighting for his company's survival, she had been entering into a business partnership with his ex-wife without telling him. "When are you coming back?" she asked, steering away from dangerous emotional territory. "That's why I'm calling. I've booked a flight for tomorrow morning. I should be in Sandpoint by early afternoon." The excitement in his voice was palpable. "I can't wait to see you, Olivia. These weeks apart have been hell." "I've missed you too," she said, meaning it despite everything. "So much. Where are you now? It sounds like you're outside." Olivia froze, unsure how to answer. The truth seemed impossible in that moment, yet lying felt equally wrong. "I'm having dinner," she said finally. "Alone? You sound strange." "No, not alone." Olivia took a deep breath. "I'm with Caroline and Leo, actually, at your house." A beat of silence followed. "Oh, that's unexpected." "Leo wanted swimming lessons," Olivia explained quickly, "and Caroline and I have been talking about some business ideas for the bookstore." It wasn't a lie exactly, but the omission felt enormous. "I see," Nathaniel said, his tone carefully neutral. "Well, I'm glad you're all getting along. Tell Leo I can't wait to see him." "I will," Olivia promised. "And Nathaniel? There's something we need to discuss when you get back. Something important." "That sounds serious," he said, a note of concern entering his voice. "Is everything okay?" "Yes," she assured him, though her racing heart suggested otherwise. "It's just something better discussed in person." After they hung up, Olivia returned to the table, where Caroline was helping Leo build an elaborate structure with the remains of his dessert. "Dad's coming home tomorrow," Leo announced before Olivia could speak, his face alight with excitement. "Mom just told me." Olivia shot Caroline a questioning look. "Nathaniel texted me while you were talking," Caroline explained. "Standard co-parenting update." "Yes, he'll be back tomorrow afternoon," Olivia confirmed, ruffling Leo's hair affectionately. "He can't wait to see you." "And you," Leo added with an 8-year-old's directness. "He probably missed you even more than me, because you're his girlfriend and he loves you." Olivia's cheeks warmed at the boy's matter-of-fact assessment. "Well, I missed him too." "Did you tell him?" Caroline asked quietly as Leo returned his attention to his dessert construction. "Not yet," Olivia admitted. "I said we needed to talk when he gets back." Caroline's expression was unreadable. "Better sooner than later, Olivia. Nathaniel doesn't like surprises." The next morning dawned bright and clear, as if the weather itself was celebrating Nathaniel's return. Olivia opened the bookstore as usual, but her mind was elsewhere, rehearsing different ways to explain her partnership with Caroline. I know I should have discussed this with you first, but it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. It's just business, separate from our personal relationship. I didn't want to bother you while you were dealing with your company's crisis." None of the explanations sounded adequate even to her own ears. Around noon, the contractor Caroline had hired arrived for the initial assessment. He was a friendly, bearded man named Frank who spoke enthusiastically about the proposed renovations. "We can retain all the original character while modernizing the space," he explained, gesturing around the store. "Keep these beautiful hardwood floors, expose more of the brick walls, add some comfortable seating areas. The wine bar would go there, in what's now the reference section." Olivia followed him around, caught between excitement about the store's transformation and growing dread about Nathaniel's imminent arrival. She had just shown Frank out with promises to review his preliminary plans the next day when the bell above the door chimed. And there he was, Nathaniel Reed, looking tired but handsome in a casual button-down shirt and jeans, his eyes lighting up at the sight of her. "Olivia," he breathed, crossing the store in a few long strides. She barely had time to brace herself before she was in his arms, his lips finding hers in a kiss that spoke of weeks of longing. For a moment, everything else fell away. The bookstore, the secret partnership, the complications of their different worlds. There was only Nathaniel, solid and real, and here at last. When they finally broke apart, both a little breathless, Nathaniel kept his arms around her waist. "God, I've missed you," he murmured, resting his forehead against hers. "I've missed you too," Olivia said, her heart racing with both joy and apprehension. "How was your flight?" "Long," he laughed, "but worth it to be here now." He glanced around the empty store. "Can you close early? I thought we could go somewhere quiet to talk. I have some things I want to discuss with you." The earnestness in his expression made Olivia's stomach tighten with nerves. "Actually, I have something I need to tell you first." Nathaniel's brow furrowed. "That sounds serious." "It's not bad," Olivia hurried to reassure him. "At least I don't think it is. It's about the bookstore. And Caroline." "Caroline?" Now he looked truly puzzled. "What does my ex-wife have to do with your bookstore?" Before Olivia could answer, the door chimed again. She turned to see Caroline herself entering, elegant as always in a designer dress that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. "Nathaniel," Caroline greeted him with a polite nod. "Welcome back. Leo is excited to see you later." Nathaniel's confusion deepened. "Caroline, what are you doing here?" "I had a meeting scheduled with Olivia," Caroline replied smoothly, "to discuss the renovation timeline. But I see you've arrived earlier than expected." "Renovation timeline?" Nathaniel repeated, looking between the two women. "What renovation?" Olivia took a deep breath. "That's what I was about to explain. Caroline's investment firm has purchased a 30% stake in Hart's Books. We're going to transform it into a cultural center for Sandpoint, with a reading lounge, wine bar, author residence program." Her voice trailed off as she saw Nathaniel's expression shift from confusion to disbelief to something that looked unsettlingly like betrayal. "You went into business with my ex-wife?" he asked, his voice carefully controlled. "Without telling me?" "It happened while you were dealing with your company's crisis," Olivia explained. "I didn't want to burden you with—" "Burden me?" Nathaniel interrupted. "This isn't about burden, Olivia. It's about trust, about communication." "That's hardly fair," Caroline interjected coolly. "You were unreachable for days at a time. Olivia had a business to save." "Stay out of this, Caroline," Nathaniel snapped, then immediately closed his eyes, visibly trying to regain his composure. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, but no less intense. "I need to understand what's happened here. How long has this been in the works?" "Not long," Olivia said, acutely aware of how inadequate the answer was. "Caroline approached me after you left for San Francisco. The bookstore was failing, Nathaniel. I was going to lose everything." "And you didn't think to come to me?" The hurt in his eyes was unmistakable. "I would have helped you, Olivia. You know that." That's exactly why she didn't, Caroline said before Olivia could respond. She didn't want to be another problem for you to solve, another project to fix. I asked you to stay out of this, Nathaniel said, his jaw tight. Stop it, both of you, Olivia interjected, her own frustration rising. This is my business, my decision. Yes, I should have told you sooner, Nathaniel, but Caroline offered a fair deal that preserves what matters to me while giving the store a fighting chance. I don't regret accepting it. Nathaniel stared at her for a long moment, hurt and anger warring in his expression. I see. He stepped back, creating physical distance that mirrored the emotional chasm suddenly yawning between them. Well, congratulations on your new partnership. I hope it brings you everything you're looking for. The coldness in his voice sent a chill through Olivia. Nathaniel, please, let's talk about this calmly. I think we've said enough for now. He moved toward the door, then paused. I need some time to process this. I'll be at the house if you decide there's anything else I should know about. The bell chimed again as he left, the sound jarringly cheerful in the tense silence that followed. Well, Caroline said after a moment. That went about as well as could be expected. Olivia sank onto a nearby chair, her legs suddenly unsteady. He hates me. He doesn't hate you, Caroline sighed. He's hurt and his pride is wounded. Nathaniel has always struggled when things happen outside his control. She hesitated, then added more gently, Go after him, Olivia. Don't let this fester. I will, Olivia nodded, gathering her strength. But first I need to understand something. Did you know this would happen? Was this your plan all along? Caroline's expression hardened. You think I orchestrated this elaborate scenario to sabotage your relationship with my ex-husband? That's giving me both too much credit for deviousness and too little for business acumen. I don't know what to think anymore, Olivia admitted. Then think about this. I invested in your store because it's a good business opportunity. If it also happens to help you maintain your independence in a relationship with a man who tends to take over everything he touches, well, consider that a bonus. Caroline moved toward the door. Call me when you're ready to continue our business discussions. The personal drama is entirely your department. Left alone in the suddenly quiet bookstore, Olivia faced the reality of what had just happened. The man she had fallen in love with had returned only to discover a secret she had kept from him, a secret involving his ex-wife, no less. The hurt in his eyes haunted her, as did the cold distance in his voice as he left. She had saved her bookstore, but at what cost? And more importantly, was there any way to repair the damage she had done to a relationship that, despite its challenges, had come to mean everything to her? The walk to Nathaniel's cliffside home had never felt so long. Olivia followed the winding road up from town, the afternoon sun warm on her shoulders, her mind racing with all the things she needed to say. She had closed the bookstore early, leaving a hastily scrawled sign on the door. Some things were more important than business hours. As she rounded the final curve, the house came into view, modern and elegant against the blue backdrop of the bay. Nathaniel's Range Rover sat in the driveway, confirmation that he was indeed there. Olivia paused, drawing a deep breath to steady herself, then continued up the path to the front door. She raised her hand to knock, but before her knuckles could make contact, the door swung open. Leo stood there, his expression unusually solemn for an 8-year-old. "Hi, Olivia," he said quietly. "Dad's sad." Her heart clenched at the simple assessment. "I know, buddy. That's why I'm here. Is he inside?" Leo nodded, stepping back to let her in. "He's on the deck. He told me he wanted to be alone, but I think he really wants to see you." Olivia smiled despite her nerves, touched by the boy's insight. "Thanks, Leo. I'll go talk to him." "Are you guys going to fix it?" Leo asked, his voice small. "Whatever's wrong?" "I'm going to try my very best," Olivia promised, giving his shoulder a gentle squeeze. She made her way through the house to the back deck, where Nathaniel stood at the railing, looking out over the ocean. His posture was rigid, tension evident in the set of his shoulders. He didn't turn as the door slid open, though he must have heard her approach. "Nathaniel," Olivia said softly. He remained facing the water. "I thought I made it clear I needed some time." "You did," she acknowledged. "But I've learned that sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones we need to have most urgently." This earned her a sideways glance. "Learned from whom? My ex-wife, your new business partner?" The bitterness in his tone stung, but Olivia refused to be deterred. "I deserved that. But I'm here because what we have is too important to let pride or hurt feelings destroy it." Nathaniel finally turned to face her, his expression guarded. "Is that what you think this is about? Pride?" "Partly," Olivia said honestly. "And hurt, and feeling left out of a decision that—" "That what?" he interrupted. "That involved you and my ex-wife forming a partnership behind my back while I was fighting to save my company?" "That indirectly involved you," Olivia corrected gently. "This wasn't about you, Nathaniel. It was about saving my bookstore, my parents' legacy." "And you couldn't tell me that? Couldn't trust me to understand or support you?" The raw pain in his voice made Olivia step closer, though she stopped short of touching him. "I was wrong not to tell you sooner. I know that. But I also know that if I'd come to you for help, you would have swooped in and solved the problem yourself." "Would that have been so terrible?" Nathaniel asked, his brow furrowed. "To let someone who cares about you help when you're in trouble?" "No," Olivia admitted. "But it would have changed things between us. I would have become another problem for you to fix, another responsibility. And our relationship would have shifted from equals to something else." Nathaniel was silent for a long moment, his gaze moving back to the horizon. "When I first realized Leo was in trouble that day in the water," he said finally, "I felt helpless, completely, utterly helpless. I couldn't reach him in time. I couldn't save my own son." He turned to her again, his eyes filled with emotion. "But you could. You did. And in that moment, I didn't care who saved him, only that he was saved. It wasn't about my ego or my need to be the hero." "This is different," Olivia said gently. "Is it? Because from where I stand, it looks like you didn't trust me enough to even give me the chance to support you without taking over." His words hit their mark, forcing Olivia to confront an uncomfortable truth. Had she misjudged him? Had her fears about losing her independence led her to shut Nathaniel out unnecessarily? "You're right," she said after a moment. "I should have trusted you more. I should have told you about Caroline's offer and discussed it with you. Not because I needed your permission, but because we're partners. Or at least, I thought we were becoming partners." "I thought so too." Nathaniel's voice softened. "That's why it hurts so much to find out about this from Caroline, of all people." "I'm truly sorry," Olivia said, taking another step toward him. "But I need you to understand something too. My independence, my ability to make my own decisions and solve my own problems, that's not negotiable. It's who I am." Nathaniel studied her face, something shifting in his expression. "Do you think I want to change that about you? That fierce independence is one of the things I love most about you, Olivia." "You say that now," she countered. "But I've seen how your world works, Nathaniel. You're used to being in control, to having people defer to your judgment, and I'm afraid that eventually you'd expect the same from me." "Is that what Caroline told you?" A flash of anger crossed his features. "That I'd try to control you? Change you?" "No," Olivia shook her head. "She actually encouraged me to maintain my independence while being with you. That's part of why I accepted her investment. It gave me a way to save the bookstore on my own terms." This seemed to surprise him. "Caroline said that?" "She did. And regardless of how you feel about her, the business arrangement makes sense. Her vision for Heart's books is exciting and sustainable. It preserves what matters while giving the store a fighting chance in the digital age." Nathaniel ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Olivia had come to recognize as a sign of his conflicted thoughts. I don't doubt that Caroline made a sound business proposal. She's always been shrewd that way. He sighed. What bothers me is feeling like the two of you formed some sort of alliance that excluded me. It wasn't like that, Olivia insisted. It was business, not personal. But it became personal the moment you decided not to tell me, Nathaniel pointed out. And now I'm left wondering what else you might keep from me if you think I'll react badly. The accusation hung in the air between them, painful in its accuracy. Olivia had made a unilateral decision about something that, given their relationship, should have been discussed. Not because Nathaniel had any right to dictate her business choices, but because trust and communication were essential to their future together. You're right, she admitted again. I made a mistake in not telling you, but I'm here now, being honest about why I did it and asking if we can find a way forward. Nathaniel's expression remained troubled. I want that more than anything, Olivia, but I need to know that you trust me, truly trust me, to be your partner, not your savior or your controller. And I need to know that you respect my independence, Olivia countered. That you understand sometimes I'll make decisions you don't agree with. And that's okay. A ghost of a smile touched Nathaniel's lips. So we're negotiating terms now? Maybe we are, Olivia said, allowing herself a small smile in return. Is that a problem, Mr. CEO? Not at all, Ms. Bookseller. Some of the tension seemed to leave his body. In fact, I find your negotiation skills quite attractive. The shift in his tone, the warmth returning to his eyes, gave Olivia hope. She closed the remaining distance between them, placing her hands lightly on his chest. I do trust you, Nathaniel, and I promise to be more open going forward. No more secret business deals with your ex-wife. Just the one is plenty, he agreed, his arms slowly encircling her waist. And I promise to respect your independence, to support without trying to control. Does this mean you forgive me? Olivia asked, her heart hammering in her chest. Nathaniel's eyes searched hers. I'm working on it. But there's something I need to say first, something I've been wanting to tell you since before all this happened. What is it? She asked, suddenly nervous again. I love you, Olivia Hart, he said simply. I think I've loved you since the moment you pulled my son from the water. And while I might not always understand your decisions, I will always, always love the woman who makes them. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes at the raw honesty in his voice. I love you too, she whispered. So much that it terrifies me sometimes. Nathaniel pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. Being terrified together is better than being certain apart. Their lips met in a kiss that spoke of forgiveness, of love, of promises for the future. When they finally broke apart, both a little breathless, they became aware of a small cough from the doorway. Leo stood watching them, a tentative smile on his face. Did you fix it? He asked. Nathaniel laughed, extending an arm to invite his son into their embrace. We're working on it, buddy. Good, Leo said firmly as he joined them. Because I already told Mom that Olivia is going to be my stepmom someday, and I don't want to be wrong. Both adults froze, exchanging startled glances over the boy's head. Oh, did you now? Nathaniel asked, his tone deliberately light. And what did your mom say about that? Leo shrugged. She said as long as I still visited her lots, it would be okay. And that maybe Olivia would be good for you. Olivia couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. Caroline apparently giving her blessing to a relationship that, moments ago, had been on the verge of collapse. Your mom is full of surprises, she told Leo, ruffling his hair affectionately. So, Nathaniel said, his eyes finding Olivia's again. What happens now? It was a question that encompassed so much. Their relationship, the bookstore, their future together. Now, Olivia said thoughtfully, we take it one day at a time. We renovate the bookstore. We go sailing with Leo. You teach me more about your world, and I teach you more about mine. We figure out how to balance everything. Together. Together, Nathaniel repeated, the word sounding like a promise. I like the sound of that. That evening, as the sun set over Sandpoint Bay, casting golden light across the water, the three of them sat on the deck sharing a simple meal. Their conversation flowed easily, punctuated by Leo's enthusiastic stories and plans for future adventures. Watching them together, this man and boy who had so unexpectedly become central to her life, Olivia felt a profound sense of rightness, of belonging. There would be challenges ahead, she knew. Their different worlds would continue to pull them in different directions at times. The renovation of Hart's books would test her business relationship with Caroline. Nathaniel's work would sometimes demand his attention and presence elsewhere. But in this moment, with the warmth of Nathaniel's hand in hers and the sound of Leo's laughter filling the air, Olivia allowed herself to believe in possibilities, in second chances and fresh starts, in love that begins with a rescue but grows into something deeper, more enduring. As if reading her thoughts, Nathaniel squeezed her hand gently. "Penny for your thoughts?" Olivia smiled, leaning into his shoulder. "I was just thinking about that morning in the cove, when I heard Leo calling for help. How one moment can change everything." "The best moment of my life," Nathaniel said softly, "even if I didn't know it at the time." "Mine too," Olivia agreed, her heart full to bursting. Above them, stars began to appear in the darkening sky, witnesses to promises spoken and unspoken. And in the bay below, a pod of dolphins leapt through the moonlit waves, harbingers, as Leo had said, of something special to come. For Olivia Hart, who had once feared drowning in the depths of unexpected love, the future stretched out before her like an endless ocean, sometimes turbulent, sometimes calm, but always worth diving into with an open heart. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.